All right, on number 1, it says, what is the distance around the figure? Again, that's talking about perimeter. We're talking about the distance that goes all the way around. So here we're just going to add up what we know. 3 plus 4 plus 6 plus this red side has to be identical to that one, so that's also a 4. Unfortunately, we don't know the green half circle. All right, so we need to use this green and blue dotted line to find that. We need the diameter or the radius to find the circumference of a circle. So this green and blue dotted line needs to be 3. A lot of people think maybe it's just half of that, so you might have guessed 3, but that's not why it's 3. It's only because this distance is 3. That gets us up to 3. The extra distance here has to be another 3. It's 3 plus an extra 3 that gets us up to 6. So the diameter of that circle is 3. That's what I'm using here, pi times diameter, and I'm doing 1/2 times that because it's just half a circle. So that gives me 4.71. That's this green distance here. And now we're just going to add up our 5 sides. 4.71 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4. And that's 21.71. The perimeter on number 2, we're going to need to find this, again, this half circle. Actually, they didn't really need to give us this 7. You could need to find that on your own. This is a right triangle, so you could use Pythagorean theorem to find this slanted side, and then use that to find this. Here, they're pretty nice to us, and they give us that that's 7. So the diameter of the circle is 7. That's going to help us find the green half circle. We're going to use 1/2 times pi times diameter. That's, again, pi times diameter, and that equals 10.99. Now we're really just going to add it with these 2 blue sides here. Do not include this dotted line that's cutting through the middle. That's not a part of the perimeter. So 5 plus 5 plus 10.99 is 20.99 miles. All right, number 3 is saying how much fencing would we need to border the yard shown below. So this is supposed to be a yard of some kind, and we're trying to put a fence around the outside of it. If we're talking about the border, or if we're talking about fencing in general, really, that's got to be the outside of the shape. It's talking about going around the outside of this yard. So we're going to add up all of these red and blue sides. Problem is we're missing a few. Some of them are easier to find than others. This red one is the exact same as this red one over here. So we have 2 12s there. We know that one has to be 12. We also have a missing blue side here. This one's a little bit tougher. Here we know that this is 7. This is 20. That gets us up to 27. So 27 plus some number that we don't know yet gives us 34. You could write this as an equation. 27 plus this x equals 34, and then solve that. Really, we're just doing 34 minus the 2 parts that we know, this 27. That tells us that this extra part has to be 7. Which could make sense, really. That and that are the same. You never want to just use your judgment on that. You don't want to eyeball it. You want to make sure that that actually is equal by using the side that's across. Now that we found all of our missing sides, we're just going to add them up. 4 red ones plus 4 blue ones. That gives us a total of 108 feet. Same kind of thing on the next one. We're looking for the distance around the figure again, and we're looking for all of these red sides and all of these blue sides. On this one, actually, they're all pretty straightforward. We're missing this side. We know that's directly across from this, so that has to be 4. We know that this blue side is directly across from this other blue side. Again, that means they have to be equal, 5 and 5 again. These 2 red sides are the same as the ones across from them. This one's a little bit different because it's actually not even a part of the same rectangle, but we know that when they're across like this, they're going to be the exact same. So this one on the bottom is 5, the one on top is 4, and then all the way across, these 2 are the same. So that's 12, and that's 12. Same kind of thing from here. These 2 we know are both 4, and we know that these 2 are both 3. So now we're just going to add up all of our sides there, and we have 12 total sides. Make sure you just count and get all of them. I would write them down exactly like this, and I would just go around. I would do 4, 4, 5, 4, 3, 12. Just go around and make sure you hit each of them as you're going. Should have a total of 66 meters there. Number 5 is asking if we walked around the shape below, how many feet would we have walked? So we're just finding the distance around the outside. Again, here we have a slanted side. The slanted green side means that we need to use Pythagorean theorem. We're going to think of this right triangle here, this right triangle there, to find that missing side, that missing green side. We know that this red side can come across like that. That means that needs to be 4. this portion of this blue side is 4 longer than this blue side. If this part gets us up to 8, just this is up to 8, the extra part to get us up to 12 has to be another 4. So this triangle is a 4 by 4 triangle. And again, we're going to use Pythagorean theorem to find that. We're going to plug in 4 and 4 for A and B. That's 4 squared plus 4 squared, that's 16, plus 16, or 32. And the square root of 32 is 5.66, so that's this green side here. And now we can just add up all of our sides. 5.66 plus 12 plus 4 plus 8. Again, we don't use this dotted line because that's not on the outside. Before we move on to the next one, I just want to make sure you're reading each question carefully. On number 5, if this said if you walked around the shape 6 times, then this wouldn't be our final answer. We still want to find the perimeter, but we're walking around it 6 times, so it's not just 29.66 one time. You'd do that number times 6. You also need to be able to distinguish between area and perimeter. When we're talking about the outside of the shape, we're talking about perimeter. If we were talking about covering the inside of the shape, or how much space that covers, then we're talking about area. On all of these, we're talking about perimeter, so we don't really need to read that carefully on just this worksheet. But from now on, you really need to be able to distinguish between area, perimeter, and an application of perimeter, not just finding just perimeter. You need to think about what would really answer the question. On number 6, we're just trying to find the straightforward perimeter, so we're trying to find out these 3 blue sides plus this red curved side. We're not going to use this dotted line in the middle because that's not a part of the outside. So we have our blue plus red, that's 3 sides plus the half circle. That's 7 plus 3 plus 7 plus, this is the diameter of the circle, so I'm using this equation, pi times diameter, and it's only half a circle, so I'm doing 1/2 times that equation. You multiply that out first, and then you add. That gives us a total of 21.71 centimeters. Alright, the last two look more complicated, but they're really not any more complicated. You just need to break it down into each of the single sides. So on this one, we're talking about a half circle here, this green side. And the only other side we're really missing is this red side here. Let's find that first because that's a little bit easier. These two are across from that other red side, directly across. This is 4. This is some number adding up to 8. That also has to be 4. 4 plus 4 has to give us 8. Make sure you don't just guess that it's half. We know that that's 4 just because this side is taking up the remainder of this 8. That's where the extra 4 is coming from. Okay, so we have that missing red side. The only other side that we need to find is this green one. We're going to use that dotted green and blue line. That's 2. That's the diameter of the circle. So we're going to use that to find the circumference of half the circle. It's 1/2 times pi times diameter. That equals 3.14. Now we have all of our missing sides. We're just going to add those up. That gives us a total of 37.14. Number 8 kind of has a weird shape here. It almost looks like it's half a circle, but really this yellow circle, this yellow portion of a circle, gets 3/4 of the way around. It's 3/4 of a circle. So we're going to use 3/4 of the circle. It's the exact same kind of idea as 1/2 of a circle. Anytime you see that word of, it really means you're multiplying that fraction times that amount. So we're going to use 3/4 times the circumference of the circle. The reason I'm using this equation, 2 times pi times r, is because that's what I'm given here. This 2 is halfway across the circle, that's the radius. So I'm plugging that into 2 times pi times r, and then really just multiplying these out. 3/4 times that number equals 9.42. So that's this yellow section. And now we have these 2 red sections that are actually the same. That's 2. That means that's 2. And both of these reds are really 2, so that's a total of 4. Plus our 9.42, that equals 13.42 feet.